Good evening, Park Church. Thanks for joining me today for our midweek pastor's message. And what an exciting weekend we had. Our Easter weekend was just jam-packed. Amazing Good Friday service. Pastor Shay did an incredible job leading us to the cross and through communion. And then our Saturday egg hunt. Probably 4,000 people gathered, Broadmoor Lake Park. And we're just so incredibly proud of the church to be able to put off such a sizable event, and bigger things to come for next year. And then hopefully you were able to take in our Easter service, whether it was in person or online. And many people came out early for our Easter breakfast. And so it was just an incredible, amazing weekend celebrating the truth of the resurrection. And an additional insight that I kind of want to bring to you today as to what I preached on Sunday. Of course, I preached on the 5 takeaways from Easter, that we can have freedom. These are the things that we're worth celebrating, that we can have healing or wholeness, that we have an advocate or the counselor or the comforter. We have somebody standing in our defense. We can know that we're loved, and we can have life. All of these are a result because of the access that we have to God. So I could have added access, but all these are really as a result of a newfound access to God through Jesus. And we read about it in Matthew chapter 27, verse 50. If you clicked on this video and you saw the thumbnail, you're probably wondering, what is going on? But it says, Jesus cried out again in a loud voice, and he gave up his spirit. At that moment, the curtain in the temple was torn in two from the top to the bottom. The earth shook and the rocks split. And so we didn't get to talk about the curtain in the temple being torn into this thick, heavy curtain that had to divide the most holy place from the holy place. The most holy place was where God's very Spirit dwelled. It filled with the glory of the Lord. It was literally heaven on earth. It was where those 2 points collided and God existed manifest on earth. And now through Jesus, this veil, this thick curtain, this denial of access, it has been torn, and now we have a new and living way to come to God and be in his presence, and that's through Jesus. And so we didn't get a chance to talk through this access that we have. We've been granted access, unprecedented access, actually, because if we were to look back in the Old Testament about access to God or to be able to be in God's presence, it was extremely exclusive, right? To be able to go into this most holy place where God's presence was, only the high priest could go in, and he could only go in once a year on the Day of Atonement, and he went in with much fear. They feared for his life, that even he shouldn't be in the most holy place on this special day. And so there was bells hung around the hem of his garment and a rope tied to his feet, lest he die in the presence of the Lord. They could pull him out because nobody was permitted to go in. And then prior to the temple, prior to that, and even the tabernacle in the wilderness, few people had access or this kind of contact with God. Isaiah, I'll get to Isaiah. But we look at Moses. So Moses received the commands of God. He would go up on the mountain and he would talk to God. And these experiences that he had with God were transformative. And of course, every experience, every encounter with God that we have transforms or changes us. Moses, after being in the presence of God, he had to cover his face when he came back down to the people. He had to wear a covering or a veil. Exodus 34 and 29 says, when Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 stone tablets of the covenant of the law in his hands, he was not aware that his face was radiant because he had spoken with the Lord. When Aaron, his brother, and all the Israelites saw Moses, his face was radiant, and they were afraid to come near him. So they were reverent. They were afraid to draw close to Moses because he was bearing the impact or the results of having been in God's very presence. They had a reverent understanding of God's holiness, which is his purity, his utter set apartness, that God is not like us. God is perfect. God dwells in unapproachable light. Man cannot look on God and live. And this is what I meant when we were saying, alluding to Isaiah. Isaiah saw the Lord, and it says that he fell down as a dead man. Isaiah, who was God's messenger, had an intimate relationship with God. He fell down as dead and he cried out, "Woe is me, I'm a man of unclean lips, and I'm surrounded by a people of unclean lips, and my eyes have seen the Lord." So they had a reverential fear of God. But back to Moses. And so each time Moses went to talk to the Lord, he had to take this veil off. He removed the barrier, but every time he came back and he was among the people, he put this veil back on. You see, even that secondhand glow, that secondhand radiance from God was too much for the people of Israel, because being in God's presence is transformative. It changes you. The veil on Moses' face, the veil in the temple, through Christ, these are all unnecessary. There's no need to be veiled because we have a nearness now that we have never known before. We read in the New Testament in Paul's second letter to the church in Corinth in chapter 3, verse 17. He says, "Now the Lord is Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom." Freedom, that freedom cry we yelled out on Sunday. Freedom! Freedom from our sin. Freedom from oppression. Freedom from condemnation, freedom from the prisons we find ourselves in, freedom from addiction, freedom from fear. You name it, Christ came to bring freedom. It's for freedom that Christ set us free. Back to chapter 3, says verse 18, "And we all, with unveiled faces, beholding the glory of the Lord, are being transformed into the same image from one degree of glory to another, for this comes from the Lord who is Spirit." So our access to God allows us to draw so close to his very presence with no veil required, no barrier needed, so that we can commune with the most holy God. And when we do, when we're in God's presence, we're being transformed to be like him. A few weeks ago when we talked about heaven, we said one day when we get to heaven, we're going to be eternally transformed and changed. What change is it going to be? Well, it's going to be light. We're going to be like him because we're going to see him face to face just as he is. But until that ultimate transformation, until we are put on immortality, it's our role in the process of sanctification to desire and pursue to be more like Jesus, to draw closer into his presence and allow his Spirit to transform us. See, books won't transform us. Conferences won't transform us. Even attending a good church service simply won't transform us. We need to draw close to Jesus, draw close to God with no barrier, and work out our sanctification to draw near to him and allow the pure light of his Holy Spirit to shine in our soul, in the fractured parts of who we are, and allow him to make us like him. We need to pursue this unveiled reality each and every day of our lives, and we also need to participate in this reality whenever we gather together. To draw near and to be like him, unveiled, unhindered, so that we can be transformed and changed in his presence. I think that's a challenge for each and every one of us, to remind ourselves that we then are the radiance of God's glory around us to people. And so we need our obligation to draw close and to become like him, to represent him on earth as his ambassadors, being made transformed, as some translations render, from glory to glory, because we've spent time in his presence. And the only way we could have this access is because of what Jesus achieved for us on the cross on Good Friday and Easter Sunday. Because of his resurrection, we now have access. So let's not forget it, but let us draw near to him. And James promises if we draw near to God, he will draw near to us. Amen, church? Well, a couple of announcements before I let you go. Don't forget, ladies, our Bloom Women's Retreat is happening on April the 22nd. Don't delay. Sunday is the deadline for registration. It's very affordable and lunch is included. And we're really looking forward to what Connie has to just invest in the lives of women. It's for young, it's for old, it's for all of us. And so I really encourage you ladies to sign up and encourage a friend to come along with you. Maybe you have anxieties about being there and you could ease somebody else's by saying, hey, would you come with me to this retreat on the 22nd? April the 23rd at 6 p.m. is our next prayer summit. That's our 1 hour time to gather together, seek the Lord, and pray with one another and for one another. And childcare is provided, so we really hope that you'll come out on the 23rd to our prayer summit. Exciting day in the life of the Park Church on April the 30th. It's an ordination service. And Pastor Kayla has gone through and is being received as an ordination candidate. She will be a reverend, and we want to celebrate that. We actually will have our district superintendent, Gary Taitinger, with us that day, and so it'll be a whole special service that we're having. And then following that, we're having our potluck, our family gathering Sunday. And so instructions are in the email on what you need to bring, whether it's a hot main dish or hot side dish. As a church, we provide the coffee and juice and salad and buns and all those types of things, as well as dessert. But we just ask that you bring something hot to share with you and your family and others. There's so many things happening in the church, you're not going to want to miss out. So I really encourage you not only to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and it really helps if you hit the bell notification. That way, when we post a video, you won't ever miss it. It'll give you an update when we do that. Also, if you're not signed up for our e-newsletter, you can do that on our website. You just scroll right to the very bottom and you click subscribe. If you ever decide that we send you too many emails or you just wouldn't like to receive them anymore, it's very easy to unsubscribe, but we usually send out 2 emails a week, one on Wednesday, one on Sunday, and then special notices only as they're needed. We know you get lots of emails, and so we want to really just guard that and keep it for important information. At the bottom of our email, though, this week, you will see an exciting update from Ian Rowley regarding Project 130 happening in Cambodia. It's very timely. Some of you have seen it on Ian's Facebook, but this is a project that we partnered with a number of years ago in order to purchase the land for this. And now the building is going up and it's very exciting. The Rowleys are going to be on their furlough year this year. So they'll be back in Alberta towards the summer, headed to Newfoundland for a number of months, and then they'll be returning, and they're actually going to be with us here on November the 19th. Now, I know that seems like a long ways away, but I want to give you time to anticipate that at that time, we're going to be taking up an offering to go towards Project 130. We are again able, thanks to a generous donor, to offer a matching donation up to $50,000. So all donations up to $50,000 are going to be matched for Project 130. So you can stay on top of that and just be prepared when we get into the season of giving at the end of the year, that this is something significant that you're going to want to be able to give towards. I hope to have some very exciting news for you coming up about our sign project, getting a sign at the corner of Brower and Baseline here, and ways that you can get involved in making that project a reality. And so there'll be more information about that as the details unfold and as designs come forward. So thank you so much, Park Church. We just love each and every one of you. Love this family, love being a part of it. Hope you have a great evening. We'll see you soon.